kick things off here this morning, open the meeting and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I can ask for approval of this morning's agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Yeah, I'll second.
I have a motion, a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next, I can ask for approval of the minutes dated October 19th, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion, a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next, I have a consideration of approval of claim for payment dated October 26th, 2022.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next item, we'll skip down here to consideration to approve $600 funding for the soil compaction project. So this is something that ISAC is working on. It will do some soil compaction studies in regards to the proposed carbon pipeline projects. Anything to add, Attorney Meyer?
The studies are being done by Iowa State University, their agricultural bioengineer department. And the Iowa State Association of Counties and the Association of County Supervisors have contracted to do this, and they're just requesting a voluntary contribution. They're going to try to get as many counties to pony up or chip in for this, and so they requested a $600 contribution. I think it's money well spent to protect or give good information to landowners about compaction and crop loss, things like that. And it's good for the county and any other rulemaking body that they can establish appropriate regulations and requirements for utilities, whether it's pipeline or any other kind of utility.
Yeah, and I should mention whether it's wind, solar, or
Fiber
optics, anything where you're bringing heavy equipment in, on easements. Daryl, from what I understand, the data set will be public information once published. Is that correct?
That's perfect.
And then, the soil compaction, the sampling, the actual scientific soil samples will be collected from all the counties that participate.
That part, I'm not sure. I know they're going to take some from where pipelines like the Dakota access.
Okay.
And so they got known.
Right, they're the control group, but then there'll be the non-control group.
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. All right. Lance, any questions?
Well, $600 is pretty low expensive. It'll also help us with a lot of drainage as well when it comes to claims. So I think it's money well spent.
Great, because it's the same type of equipment being used for drainage as it is.
Yeah,
Multi-purpose.
I think $600 for the data set is relatively inexpensive. I think Iowa State's scientific background and reputation makes it worthwhile. So, all right, I would consider a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Lance.
Aye.
Renee. Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item I have, I'm going to go ahead and it's 9:02. I'm going to open the public hearing vacating the portion of TT Avenue, section 7, T88N, R19W. Taylor.
Yep, so this is a dead end road. And we would, the portion that we want to vacate is just one person owns the whole road. So you'd be vacating back to him. We spoke to him this morning. He's still fine with it. So, yep, just be turning the road into his private driveway.
Okay. And when it comes to vacating road, so we can avoid the questions on this one, not avoid, but just answer preemptively. If somebody owns agricultural land or the land on both sides of the road, they essentially own the road at that point anyway, correct?
90% of the time, unless it's, you know, sometimes the county actually owns the road and the ditches, but it's mostly rare, it's mostly only the old state road.
Right, is this an instance where the landowner owns both sides?
Correct. He owns, we just have an easement to use his ground for road purposes.
Okay. Jolene, any written comments, telephone comments, email comments? All right. All right, I'll go ahead and allow, open for public comment. Okay, those online can unmute themselves. While we wait, Lance, anything to add?
No, I think that covered it. I think the important part is that when you buy the ground, you usually buy to the center of the road, that's what you're talking about 90% of the time. If it was a state road that was granted back to the county usually owns those roads. Because they were purchased by the state, not in all cases, there's different scenarios on that too, but. When it comes to most gravel roads, unless we bought an easement to widen the bridge or widen the road.
But still, if you buy an easement, they still technically own that too.
Yes. So in a sense, they're just asking to take their own property back and close it to the public.
Okay.
And
Taylor, as an example, what would be one road in Hardin County that has been given back to the county by the state? That would be an example.
D20, S27 in Buckland, Alden, and S62 south of Eldora here.
that's 55 in the province.
So we can keep going.
Right, so I just want people to understand that, before they were county highways, they were actually state highways.
Yep. Highways are the only ones I know of. I don't know if we have any gravels, but I'm not gonna guarantee we don't.
Yep. So,
Yeah, we do that research before we vacate the road back.
yep. Okay. Hearing no public comment, I can ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next, I can ask for consideration to approve resolution 22-39, resolution to vacate the county road.
Motion to approve the resolution.
No, second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Lance,
Aye.
Renee,
Aye.
EJ,
Aye, motion carries. Next item, I have a discussion of radio infrastructure. Promise.
This came from the 911 service board, and our radio systems, our current radio system is 12 to 15 years old. I'm not sure exactly when that was put in, but it is starting to have some failures, and we're spending a lot of money on that. The next thing is that we have become an island in Hardin County. So we're the only one around that has VHF radio for all of our communication. Franklin, Wright, Hamilton have all gone with the ISIX, the state radio platform through Motorola. And Grundy, Marshall, and Story County all went with the 800 system through the Sarah system. And so we're not able to communicate with those agencies anymore on our radios. So any of our fire, EMS, even law enforcement going into those counties, or if we invite them into our county, we cannot communicate cross-band radio. So the 911 service board is looking at hiring a consultant to come in and review the current system. Also review what needs the county has as far as paging, radio, and whether the 800 system through the Sarah system or the ISIX platform through Motorola is the best for the county. But that it's about $50,000 for that consultant and their studies. And so the 911 service board did not want to commit to hiring a consultant unless the board of supervisors were of the mind to be able to bond in a year or so when we get that study back. Because that project is going to run, most of the counties have been anywhere from 3.5 million up to 8 million. So I don't think think we're gonna need that much money. Because we have some structures that we can maybe repurpose depending on what, and that's what the study would be for. So we're asking before we service board commits, would the supervisors be willing to commit to looking at probably about a $3.5–4 million bond, essential services bond down the road in a year to support the new system if we deem that's what's necessary.
So as an example, Thomas, I think Dave, when there was a pretty serious motor vehicle accident on S-75 and D-65. If Dave was on his way to that incident and the Marshall County deputy happened to be in the area first, or Grundy County, how would he communicate with them? What would that sound like? I think I know, but I'd like you to explain exactly what the communication would be.
Currently, I would have to call our dispatcher, and have our dispatch call their dispatch, call their deputy, to tell their deputy to either switch the frequency or something like that. I wouldn't be able to necessarily go direct contact with them the way we're currently.
Okay, so it's a game of telephone essentially, and in crew resource management, we want to avoid that at all costs. Because, you know, Sheriff McDaniel says we need 2 ambulances and only one gets sent because of a miscommunication in that line, that could be an issue, or another life safety issue. So I don't know, is a consultant really necessary, or do we say, hey, we just know we need one of these 2 systems? Somebody design a system. I've been following the saga in Marshall County, and they finally figured out as of Monday how to fund, or actually fund part of the process with different entities paying for portions. We know we need something going forward, and we had the foresight several years ago, but is the consultant really the necessary part, or can we ask for the 2 entities that want to sell us this multi-million-dollar system to do the legwork and provide us the quote?
The Homeland Security Conference a couple of weeks back, and 4 of many counties are in the process of changing radio systems, and they have more than so. Clayton County, they paid $50,000 for their consultant, and what happens is that consultant also deals with the process of getting bids and stuff back, and instead of Motorola coming in or Raycom coming in and saying, here's what we've got, and we go with the state bid, the contractor, the consultant actually looks at that, and they go and put the bids out, and they've been saving $300,000 to $500,000.
So they facilitate the process then.
Yeah.
So you're comfortable $50,000 initial investment would likely save more money. They're gonna figure out exactly what is and isn't needed. Because I'm just trying to figure out, you know, what the return on investment is with the consultant. So you've answered that. Yeah,
6 times over.
right. Okay.
And it also stops from having us involved in having to sit down and spend time with all these people, and we really don't, we're not experts at it,
Right.
and so they can talk all they want, but the consultants are experts at it, will come in and do the studies of where towers and things need to be and what kind of radios we need.
Okay.
We ran into a scenario in Grundy here a couple of years back that would solve that scenario too, correct?
Yeah, the night, Sergeant Smith was killed over we were over there, and we could not communicate with the state whatsoever. I couldn't reach back here to dispatch, communicate with my dispatch from our current portal. Well, with this system, that wouldn't be an issue at all. But we were hard to kind of in that situation, and basically on a bit of an island with no way to communicate with the state or back where it was.
And we were trapped in the building too.
Yeah, one of our guys was trapped in the basement. Literally.
Yeah. So how does a Marshall County deputy and a Hamilton County deputy, can they communicate at this point?
On a distance.
Okay. So the interoperability really goes away. Those problems are solved.
Yeah.
Okay,
And it's because we would switch our dispatching over to what they call a core connected console. So trying to patch VHF to 800 or 700, those issues and the problems with that go away. And everybody's on the system.
okay. So when you get the main system, you get your dispatch console, you have your hardware on the towers. In Marshall County, the grand debate was who pays for all of the durable equipment put in each squad car, each patrol, rescue apparatus. How has the 911 commission decided how they want to do that? Because a town like Whitten with 3 apparatus is a whole lot different than funding Iowa Falls that has multiple apparatus.
Well, that's the reason in coming to ask for the bond, and the counties have gone across this. Franklin County is a county that went with ISIC's platform and did it for law enforcement and for dispatch. Fire and EMS were left on VHF. They're now going back and going to ask for more money so that everybody gets the radios. So if we switch systems, the bond will be to put minimum, so radio in each truck, a couple of portables, and then pagers across the board.
Okay, so there'd be a group buying, so
Yes.
Eldora Fire, Ackley Fire, everybody would have all the same equipment, so interoperability
Would not be a problem.
would not be a problem.
Because if we go with just law enforcement, then fire and EMS, we're not able to communicate.
Right.
But then we're at least in fact.
Yep.
So it would be the same, basically the same.
And the other piece coming into play is under the governor's school safety bureau. The state is providing radios to each of the school buildings. And that radio has a panic button on it that keys up, and for us to do that effectively, we'd be much better off on a core connected radio. We're gonna come up with a way, and 911 will discuss that at the next couple of board meetings, but we'll probably put something temporary in to make that happen, so the schools have a way to automatically get a hold of dispatch as designed.
What about encryption and those things? Are these two systems offer a little more privacy and safety for our public safety officials?
Yes,
Okay,
you can encrypt. It's easier to encrypt the channels.
okay,
And we will, that's the other thing the consultant will help with, is setting down and mapping out what frequencies need to be encrypted and how many frequencies we need. And how those are gonna look. Fire talking to law enforcement or law enforcement talking to EMS fire, that's all in the consultants.
all right. Would there be also capabilities for adding additional channels for tactical? So if there's 2 incidents going on in Hardin County, a grass fire in Ackley and a house fire in Eldora, that we'd be able to separate those things out to
Yes,
give our dispatch and communication centers the best chance of succeeding?
Yes.
Okay,
Do you have any idea? And it's a broad question, but do you have any idea what we're spending currently between all the fire stations, the officers, the meetings, the ambulances? That we're just, the money they've already invested, that they either just invested or they need to invest, that would offset this. We're putting everybody on the same page.
yeah, so currently, the 911 council gives this fiscal year, we're giving each agency $2,000 to upgrade any of their equipment. And the last 2 years, it was $3,000. So in the last 3 years, each agency has been $8,000 to upgrade pagers, radios, things like that, and that's a continuing process. And dispatch, we're currently working on upgrades in dispatch, and they're about $100,000.
In my view, this is just what the 911 service was.
Right.
The cities themselves are.
Yeah.
So-
It's what $100 amount I'm trying to get.
Yeah, I don't, we looked at that years ago. I mean, $2,000 isn't gonna go far. A minute or 73 or whatever we're at now is, probably about at least half.
$400.
What's that?
The pagers.
Yeah.
Are about $400 a piece. The radios, they're running right around $1,000 a piece.
So, yeah, the 911 surcharges and stuff like that you see on your communications bills, including cell phone and landline. That's supplementing, but yeah, what the city of Eldora, Steamboat Rock and other entities are paying is above and beyond that. So this, yeah, so, yeah, and I know what, your vehicle mobile radios are costing, so that's. So this project would not only take some burden off the communities when things are pretty tough. Update them, our public responder safety is then also increased. So, yeah, that number has always been kind of a mystery because asking all 13 entities and all, the law enforcement entities to be able to tabulate what they're investing is like herding cats.
Yeah. And I just want to out there that money would then no longer be invested because it's all being.
For the time being, and I would hope that the strategist would say, hey, this is what the replacement schedule is going to be.
Yes.
And make a long-term investment, and where if Steamboat Rock had a pager destroyed, that we have a replacement plan through the county rather than Steamboat Rock Fire Department having to have pancake dinner to, raise money for a new pager. So.
Yeah, and to be completely transparent, the monies that we receive from the state and the 911 Service Council. Number one, landlines have gone down, so the money that comes directly to the county for 911 is going down. And then the grants that we used to receive from the state, because the state 911 gets all of the wireless money, so everything on your cell phone, iPads, whatever, that all goes to the state. And since the state has been building infrastructure and taking more of the systems and doing the route, and then letting us into those, the money in the 911 is going down also because there's more infrastructure built on the state side for us to share in. So that one's going down to the service board also.
So it's not an actual item, so you're just looking for guidance from us to either, will you ask that the 911 board engage with the consultant?
Yes,
Or do you want the supervisors to engage?
we'll engage with the consultant because we can use 911 dollars to engage the
Okay.
consultant. We just didn't want to engage the consultant and then come up with a $3.5–4 million project and not have you guys on board to help make that bond, because the 911 Service Council, we can't do that essential services bond. It has to be the county.
Right, okay.
I think the bond would be determined a lot on what the consultant comes up with.
Exactly.
So you have to consult anyway.
I think what they did in Marshall County was good, but hopefully we see the lessons learned from their maybe lack of marketing and public information and education, that we don't run into the same problems they have. And they didn't address the equipment to the departments up front. So that left a lot of questions being asked by, Haverhill Fire Department and Melbourne first responders. And we can't hold another pancake breakfast. So
No, and the newer radios, so just we bought the portables a year ago. And those were $2,500 a piece just for a portable radio. The mobile radios that go in the car are about $4,000 a piece. So upgrading the system, more reliable system and more interoperable system is gonna be more expensive, and the communities are not gonna be able to afford it.
Yeah, what's the, a minute or two, the brick lasted 20 years. What are the new, is the equipment becoming more durable and long lasting, or are we changing technology to the point where the thing can work perfectly fine, but the technology is
Right.
changed before the piece of equipment is actually no good? Is that kind of where
It's kind of where we're getting to.
yeah,
And we're gonna operate on a Walkman right now when everybody else is listening to their iPods, so, I mean, it works.
right.
But, it's,
Yeah, I just don't want what happened to Mitch to happen to anybody else. And thank goodness for cell phones.
And that's where the consultant will come in also, is because there is a tower for us in our falls, so there's an existing tower there. But if that's actually enough for an officer in Eldora to be in a building and communicating. But we've got our tower out here that we may be able to switch over, so those are the questions the consultant can address. Can we put equipment on current towers and make it more?
So when you say the
reliable for
distance
everybody?
towers, these are the towers we see a lot of times in the road right of ways, right? Some of these newer towers that.
Yeah, there are a lot of them are on state property.
Right, yep. Okay. Renee,
I have nothing else.
yeah, you're the 911 service board rep, so. Lance, anything else?
No, I just need more information.
Yeah. I appreciate the update but yeah, I think it's something that, going ahead that we need to be ready to make the investment in and also educate the public on what's coming down the pipe.
We just didn't want to,
Yeah, it's not,
and do the consultant, and then the board be like, no, we're not gonna spend that kind of money at all.
Well, like I say, it depends on what the consultant comes back with.
Right.
That's a tough sale for the lack of information I have.
Right. Right. We just wanted to have the discussion, and you guys are willing to have the discussion, and it sounds like you're willing to,
I'm open to the discussion.
yeah. So,
thank you, gentlemen. Next item I have is consideration to approve or upgrade lighting in the EOC building. Thomas, I'll just let you.
so you have that quote in front of you, when Michael and Matt were over here installing some of the new equipment that we got through grants. The lighting in here is adequate, but not ideal. And so, putting in new LED lights with diffusers on them, and then being able to dim them, like on that side there, being able to dim that so you can see the screens, or on this side, dim them and make presentations that have better lighting in here. That's the request I'm bringing to you. This was done with John Forgy and a consultant on lighting out of Marshalltown. They came in to look at the space and then discuss what kind of lighting they had that would be available for it. I have asked if this, and I've sent 2 emails, I'll have to resend them, because I haven't gotten answers, but asking if Alliant Energy, who is our energy company, will do a rebate on it also. So,
I know they did before.
Yeah.
We did the other lighting, the LEDs
And almost the entire courthouse.
and the jail. If I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. That was my only question.
it's coming to you because it's your building and so on, that
Right. Yeah, back to when this building was constructed, the multi-purpose future of it wasn't very well planned. And so it seems like it was a economically constructed building, but had next to no purpose. It was when federal government was throwing money left and right after 9/11. And so the actual functionality of the building had gone untapped. Renee, you've been here for multi-day classes. I mean, just seeing some of the visual devices here. I'm guessing, dim the lights and having contrast would definitely be better. I've been to classrooms where it's just not practical for a good learning environment, so.
Be a lot easier on the eyes for everybody.
So Thomas,
Individuals.
how many meetings do you think you hold here or even coming in the future? What are the attractions where? Do we charge for any of these meetings or are they all free?
So most of them are free, because they're FEMA classes, so we don't charge anybody to come to a FEMA class.
Okay.
But the number of things that we're holding in here continues to increase. And then, I'm sure we won't get it done in time, but there's 3 days that the Economic Development Alliant Energy, that economic engineering is going to be in here for 3 days, next month. So we continue to increase the use of the building. So it'll be a good investment.
And I'm in favor of building your own, but I just want people to understand that I would rather come here than drive to Des Moines to a meeting.
Oh, yeah.
If you
Also,
can bring, if
people
you
in
can,
Waterloo.
yes, if you can bring more people here, that's the idea of this.
So we had, and we'll be getting more meetings. Actually, we had a contractor in here to teach a FEMA, a 2-day FEMA class just a couple of weeks ago, and she liked the setup. The lighting is a little bit of an issue, but for the most part, this is probably one of the best DOTs in all of the United States, unless you get to like Johnson, Johnson County, Polk County, where they've got bigger resources. But we've done well for the grant money that we've used for this and continue to do. And even the upgrades that you're seeing now, the screen behind you and this one over here, that was done by COVID dollars through public health. So we're putting a lot of technology in, but lighting is one of them that can't be under a grant.
I don't know about you guys.
I'm sorry,
Under a B grant or COVID one,
either,
really,
because it's a structure.
it's attached to the, it's a.
Yeah, the grants come out for technology, and lighting isn't really considered technology. It was asked, because we did ask if this could go under the public health grant for COVID, and they came back with that.
Okay. So we have the estimate in the amount of $7,250 from Hardin Electric for consideration.
I would make a motion to approve the $7,250 estimate for the electric for the LED lighting.
I will second that.
Okay, discussion.
Funding can be pulled from.
Was there building and maintenance? What was the idea for?
That's a question for you guys. It's coming from your funding.
It would have to come through the building maintenance. Although it wasn't agenda for this year, but I know money's sitting in there, it could be used for.
Okay, the one thing, Alliant rebate, please do the legwork on
Yes.
that, and if you have any questions. I know that Jody and Attorney Meyer have worked with Alliant on some rebate issues in the past, so they have some contacts there. The other thing, when I look at the investment and in a 2-day class, unless the meals are catered, somebody's still buying it local. But you think of, how many people do you have here for your PIO class, Thomas?
Well, with the economic recovery and it
Or-
was 15.
So 15
Oh,
times 2 times, they're spending money locally, so the return on investment is good. They're buying gas, they're buying lunch, a couple cups of coffee. So I think it's a good return on investment, so. All right,
And we're not having to pay the expense to drive somewhere else for it.
right, yeah, the central location is a
Yeah,
good.
the last one, we had people from Clayton County, Dallas County, Benton County.
So some hotel rooms probably in the
Well,
area, potentially. Okay, roll call, Jolene.
Lance?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, I have consideration to approve the use of courthouse grounds for the Eldora Public Library for the Christmas Story Walk. Joe Grotoff submitted the request for the courthouse grounds for another story walk for the Christmas event, effective November 22nd through the 30th of November 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion
If she's gonna put signs on the ground, I hope it's not froze
or
and,
too hard?
and I don't want them to be put where the bushes were, just in the yard.
It says signs on the edge of the lawn.
So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Discuss compensation for the uniform guidance audit by Bowman and Miller. Jolene, did you wanna?
Beth hasn't gotten, hasn't given any hard numbers. But this year, we're in the middle of a federal audit. Because if you spend over $750,000 in 1 year, that automatically bumps you to that. This year it was due to one thing, and the following years it'll be due to ARPA funds. So she is in the middle of the uniform guidance audit on that. And that's not in, what she had quoted for normal outside audit services.
So that'll be coming in coming weeks.
That's what I'm assuming.
Okay,
So that will be an extra cost.
So there's really no action we can take at this
no,
point.
just
There's
information.
no estimate or anything, so.
No. All right, the next thing I have is the consideration is to approve a VA quarterly report. Janetta Miller Buck provided us a report, and I can report from other visits with her that she is meeting with lots of veterans throughout the county. There's some neat programs for other ancillary conditions from Agent Orange for both veterans and surviving spouses. So I know that the VA sent some information out, but she's doing her own marketing on that to try to get more veterans that have an Agent Orange exposure enrolled in some of these new programs if they have other conditions related to the Agent Orange exposure. And there's also death benefits for their survivor if they were exposed to Agent Orange and have that documentation. So I know she's busy out in the county working with veterans and survivors on getting these benefits submitted. So I think that's a really positive thing, and I've seen the van out and about, so I think the veteran services are increasing in the county. So I appreciate the work that she and her veterans commission are doing. So I can ask for approval of her report. Please.
I'll make a motion to approve the VA quarterly report.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion, a second. Any discussion?
It's nice to see one.
Yep. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Other business, Attorney Meyer. No, Sheriff McDaniel.
Nothing.
Michelle.
Delinquent statements will be going out November 1st. If you haven't paid your taxes yet, you can still get them paid in this month with just 1 month penalty. If not, it's gonna be the 2 months coming together November 1st.
Thomas.
Sheriff's Office and local PDs and myself have been and will be for a couple of weeks yet, busy doing Homeland Security school assessments. And then those assessments, those take about 4 hours per building. And that will then lead to the schools being able to get their $50,000 grants for each building for upgrades in the safety and security through the governor's school initiative.
Okay. Taylor.
We're done with our big projects on the year, just sticking little stuff now, been hauling sand all week, so. Yeah, that's
Four
it here.
tens?
What,
Are we 410s now?
Veterans Day week, I'll
Okay.
go back to 5 days. Yes.
Right? Jolene, anything going on up in your office?
No, nothing, no, we're extremely busy with the absentee voters coming in, seems to be a pretty steady flow.
And November 5th, from
95
9 to
here.
5, Saturday, November 5th, 9 to 5, early voting.
Yes. And then the last day for absentee early voting is November 7th.
Perfect. Michael. Lance,
Good.
Renee,
Nothing.
all right, with that, I can ask for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries, we are adjourned.